Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the PVP podcast, the show where we talk about real estate, business, and everything in between. And I got a powerhouse guest today, and I reached out to him, and I actually had the opportunity of meeting him in Toronto a little over a year ago, actually, 18 months ago, and speaking to him in person. And I reached out to him because I just wanted him to share his story with everyone listening. I follow him online personally, closely, I should say, and it's just an amazing story. I mean, without further ado, Matt, thanks for accepting the invitation and, sitting down with me and chatting. I appreciate this, man.
Yeah, brother. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you reaching out. This is the podcast space is such an amazing place to share and connect and
Yeah.
have a huge reach. It's actually where I started my real estate journey was podcasts.
Yeah.
So I think it's an amazing way for us to all stay connected, stay current. Obviously, the mainstream is not a great source for information, as we could all agree. And so, podcasts really get us to be able to connect with all the people who are in the space where we have interest. And I just feel blessed and fortunate enough to be a part of those communities and to be able to pour into other people. So, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, I really, like I mentioned earlier, I follow you closely online, been following you for a minute now. And I'm just like excited to pick your brain on the show and for the listeners too. I think that your story is awesome. And I know that people are going to find it awesome. I mean, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you came from. And, this is a very interesting part from law enforcement to today. So give us a little insight on that.
Yeah, my background, my career, which for many years I never ever dreamed or saw myself in any capacity outside of that career
Yeah.
was was law enforcement. And I worked for multi agencies. I worked in different capacities. Very fortunate. I had a really blessed career. I got to do a lot of really fun, high level stuff, national security, narcotics, kicking doors with the RCMP, doing
Wow.
big drug files, big drug warrants,
Yeah.
tracking people with K9 and all kinds of really fun stuff that I just am so blessed. But my journey was, after 17 years in a career that I loved, I was left broken, much like most people after almost approaching 20 years in any career, feeling like I missed something. Like living in Toronto, Canada is not a cheap city to live in by any means, especially if you live midtown, let me tell you. But when you have a six-figure salary and you're scraping by in life, you kind of sit back and go, like, what did I do wrong?
Yeah.
Like I thought I was doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And so after years and years of shift work and overtime and just trying so hard to get ahead and not getting anywhere, if anything, getting worse off with inflation and the cost of goods and the cost of living, it's just, salaries didn't keep up.
Yeah.
I think for most Canadians and most people in North America as a whole, they can relate to that. And
Yeah.
I sat down with my wife 5 years ago, 6 years ago now, and said, we have no net worth. I was 35 years old and I said, like, this is this is really bad. Like, this is really bad. Like, and if we don't
Yeah.
change something, we're going to be 50 years old renting and have no net worth. And for me, that was the start because you can't change anything if you don't acknowledge how bad everything currently is. And if you live with the rose colored glasses, like, oh, we're so blessed to have what we have and this and that,
Yeah.
and just accept that enough is good enough, then this podcast isn't for you. But I wasn't okay being 50 years old and having no net worth. I wasn't okay not having enough money as a man to afford to provide for my family and take them on vacations whenever I want.
Right.
So that started the trajectory and the journey of educating and podcasts and real estate, and which led to mentorship and coaching programs. And I've hired many coaches and mentors over the years, and each time just scaling up and leveling up myself as a human being and getting into bigger rooms and bigger mentorships and masterminds, and to the point now where I was able to a year ago retire completely from law enforcement and not only replace my income, but triple my income from my salary that I was making there, and
Yeah.
then more than that. So real estate has really been a life changer for me,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people get stuck in thinking, "Well, real estate's risky, and what if the bubble bursts, and what if you lose things, and what if the tenants don't pay?" And I think fear keeps a lot of people from ever really fully scaling in real estate or even starting at all.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's not in real estate, even if it's in another business, right? Like, cleaning company or property management business or whatever business people pursue, mindset keeps them stuck, right? The fear and the mindset of like staying in that comfort and secure place stops them from scaling their business, scaling their real estate portfolio, scaling their lives, right?
Mm.
And I think that everybody, well, not everybody, but a large part of, people go through this, and they take the comfort and security route versus, overcoming that fear and that doubt and the famous imposter syndrome that everybody has, to really have the courage to go after what they want, right? It's programming. I mean, as far back as I can remember in school, it was, go to school, graduate, get good grades, find a good job. You know what I mean? These don't necessarily lead to happy people, though.
Yep.
It leads to a bunch of clones, right? Everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody went to school, had the same job, took the safe and secure route, and are ultimately blinded and paralyzed by that fear to go out and chase their dream, whatever business they're in. So I know that you're big on mindset. When did you have that shift, you and your wife? And like, when did that shift come where you realized, for example, it had to do with your mindset?
Yeah. That shift started over 2 years ago. I met another real estate investor who was basically in the mindset space, and we met, and he just cracked my brain wide open and really showed me how poor my mindset was. And for me, that was at the time, I didn't quite grasp how bad it was because I'd come from a profession that I thought I was achieving very big goals, and I was a high achiever, and I was on special teams, and I thought I had a great mindset, and I had to learn and unlearn a lot of things and rewire my mind to realize, number one, I hadn't even touched my own potential.
But
Number 2, I was limiting myself in every single way, and the best was the night I met my mentor, Simon Davis, very, very well known in the Canadian real estate communities. He was my mindset coach, and, he said, "Go buy 5 properties in the next 2 months." And I laughed in his face, right? And anyone who's followed me has heard me tell this story, but at the time, and anyone listening who's maybe not in real estate or hasn't scaled a portfolio yet, to say to someone in that space, at the time I was $70,000 in debt, go buy
yeah,
5 properties in the next 2 months, is a ridiculous and absurd thing to tell someone to do. It's just not achievable. It's outside of the boundaries of anything possible.
yeah,
And it really exposed my limiting beliefs that I previously, my entire life, had thought, well, maybe I could do 1 property a year, right?
right,
And in 10 years, I'll have 10 properties and I'll be so great. And by the time I retire, I'll have a nest egg, right? And
yeah,
that I didn't realize how small that is to think that way.
yeah,
And, after, I apologize for laughing in his face. I'm like, I just started listing all the things that I couldn't, all the reasons why I couldn't do 5 deals in 2 months.
yeah,
And I come to learn that those are just my limiting beliefs. And so fast forward, I'm like, listen, man, I'm almost 40. I'm broke. Fix me. I'll do anything. And I jump into this mindset mentorship, which is really important to note because most people don't get to that. Because most people, number one, their ego prevents them from taking a mindset course because they think their
yeah,
mindset is fine.
yeah,
And number 2, it's the intangible, right?
right,
So, like, mindset is something that is really difficult to measure in a three-dimensional capacity,
yeah,
right? So, people often say, like, how does mindset translate to dollars? How does fixing my mindset gonna lead to more money? And usually, like, that type of thinking doesn't lead to any growth.
yeah,
And so I was willing to do whatever it took. I jump in, and lo and behold, 4 months later, I closed 5 multifamily deals with none of my own money.
amazing.
Literally, like, blasted my mind to, like, pieces because I'm like, it had nothing to do with the fact that I accomplished it. What it had to do with was how I had that capacity and potential inside of me the whole time.
Yeah,
And I realized in that moment, I was like, the reality of it is that the only limits we have are the ones we place upon ourselves by how we think.
yeah,
And so if I can change how I think and I can remove all the limits, well, now there's no limits.
yeah.
right? So I went and bought 5 more. Under a year, I bought 10, 10 assets, over $6 million in real estate, and retired.
Yeah.
And most people would look at that and go, "That's not possible. That's a scam. There's no like there's no way I could do that. You got lucky." I was $70,000 in debt when I started, and I had a poor mindset and limiting beliefs, and I was able to achieve something that to the rest of society appears impossible.
Right.
And now looking back 2 years later, I look at that as being very normal
Yeah.
because I understand now truly that human beings have an infinite amount of potential and ability inside of them that we just never tap into because we just think we can't.
Exactly.
And that changed my whole life. And it kind of started the trajectory of, once we had a portfolio of 10 properties, we were putting into the US markets. I truly found my purpose and my calling, which was to help other people and pour into their lives, and specifically to first responders in that
Yeah.
community, and try to raise awareness that, there is life outside of the badge, outside of the job.
Yep.
Uh, and my wife and I started coaching. We started our own business, and we've been mentoring and coaching every day since. And it's just been growing. And now we're speaking on stages across the US, and getting invited to all kinds of events. And it's more than I ever dreamed. And it's incredible what you can accomplish in 2 years when you learn to live without limits. And that really is all, like you said, it's all mindset.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think like it starts in the mind for sure, and then it channels out into your surroundings. Like the minute that you change your mindset, you see the external, you see that in your external life, right? And I think that like who you surround yourself with is huge. I can't remember where I seen this one day. I was either a video or a reel, might have been when I was doom scrolling on social media, but it was talking about like potting flowers and potting plants. And at one point in time, you have to put the plant or the flower in a larger pot. And it was kind of like an older man and a younger child. And he says, do you know why? Do you know why we changed the pot for flowers? And the son responded something like, it's because it got too big for its surroundings. And then the old man responded, it's because his surroundings were too small for him. And I resonated with that because it was kind of like the minute you take the pot or the plant and you put it in a larger pot, it grows more. It could only grow to its surroundings. So with a smaller pot, there's less potential. Right. And I think that that's something to be said with your external, like who you surround yourself with. And I know that, you joined a community and a mentorship program. Know that you're part of a couple of them, actually. And I myself, too, I've had this belief, especially at the beginning of my career, where I had like a little lone wolf mentality where I was like, I could do it myself. I could do it myself. And I really just wanted to do it myself until I realized, you hit a certain plateau and you can't do anything more than that by yourself. It was a little bit of pride, a little bit of ego, and I put that aside, and it definitely I joined a community, a mentorship program or two or three, I think now. But all these people that I met along the way taught me different things, taught me how to think a different way, taught me, for example, creative financing, right? Taught me creative deal structuring, all sorts of things that I wouldn't have been able to learn had I not, come outside that small pot that I was in, for lack of a better term, right? And so, like, you're firsthand one to have experienced that. And it's great that you're teaching and you're helping other first responders. And like, so tell me, like, what that feeling's like when you help change somebody's life by helping them, or when you see them, their lives change because you help them change their mindset, rather. But tell me what that feeling's like.
I don't know if we have enough time. That feeling, so that's a great question because that feeling is everything I do everything for.
Right.
Because I mean, I had very big accomplishments in my career.
Yeah.
We took hundreds of kilos of coke off the streets. We put a lot of bad people in prison. We were a part of joint force operations with US agencies, counterterrorism. Like, I did some really high level stuff that I felt very
Wow.
proud of. And it doesn't hold a candle, not even close to the feeling of how it feels when you actually impact another human being's life so drastically that their whole family's life is changed. And when we started mentoring, it happened very quickly that people started telling us, like, my whole life has changed. Like 2, 3 weeks in, they're like, "My whole life has changed. I'm totally different as a dad, or I'm totally different as a husband, and I can see myself retiring finally." And then those same people, 6 months to 12 months later end up retiring from
Yeah.
a job they never saw a way out for 15 or 20 more years.
Yeah.
And now they're free. They're free to spend time and take their kids to school and spend time with their families every day, and be home for dinner and vacations and holidays. And that feeling is, it's one word, it's fulfillment. And it's
Yeah.
fulfillment that I've never found in anything else.
Right.
And it's the best feeling in the world. So that's what drives me. Like real estate, real estate is real estate, as you know, and it
Yeah.
comes with its headaches and challenges. Real
Oh, yeah.
estate does not bring me any kind of fulfillment as a human being. Real estate is, it's a wealth building vehicle. It's a passive income building vehicle if you do it the right way. Mentorship and impacting people's lives through mindset and just sharing the things that we've learned, helping other people do the same things and execute the same process that we did to change our lives is number one. It's my purpose. It's something
Right.
that I found truly called to do. But it is the most pure form of fulfillment, which brings internal happiness. And so I don't have to seek anything external. I don't give a crap about a Ferrari or a Lamborghini. I don't care about houses or boats. Like, I don't
Yeah.
care about anything external, because I get this total euphoric feeling of fulfillment when I help someone else change their life, knowing that they have more time and they're more present and they're more fulfilled with their own family.
Yeah.
So it's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could imagine too, helping change lives is definitely rewarding. And if there's a way to actually feel fulfillment, it would be, seeing the fruits of your labor, right? And seeing how it positively impacts people. There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of people out there that could achieve that mindset shift, without help, of course. It's possible, it's very possible, but I think that what happens is, especially here in Canada, in the Western world, I think we get stuck in the rat race, going back to that job and that education, and you just get stuck. And nowadays you make $100,000, it's like you have nothing left at the end of the year, you know what I mean? And you're always stuck in that rat race. And yeah, the roof is over the head, the heat's on, the rent's paid, all that stuff, but you're constantly chasing something, you know what I mean? And that whole like mindset keeps you stuck in that. And I'm going to say that I feel like it blinds people a little bit to the fact that they're stuck in that mindset. And the fact of when you're blinded is kind of, for me, is worse, because at least if you're aware, you know where to start. And if you're not aware, well, you got a lot of work to do before you could start. Right.
Mhm.
And so, like, for you, like, when you were back in law enforcement, did that, that's some pretty intense stuff you were doing, right? Like, did that leave any sort of like anxiety or stress, or was that like, would you just leave that at the door and not take that home to the wife and kids? And like, how did that play out? Because I could imagine now there's no more of that, like you have that freedom from your job, you're retired, and essentially more control over your life. So I could imagine how it must be now, but in an intense, like, field like law enforcement, what was that like day to day?
It's definitely something you take home. And whether you want to admit it or not, I think everyone in that field takes it home to some extent. And it
Yeah.
depends. And there's different levels of how we as human beings deal with stress and trauma. Some
Yeah.
people manage it very well. Other people rely on healthy outlets. Other people end up resorting to negative ones.
Yeah.
But there's, without question, over the course of time, it wears you down.
Yeah.
And for sure, I was taking it home. Wasn't present with my wife when I was home. I was short and moody and grumpy with my kids, and that was normal. Like, I'm surrounded by people on the job, the men and women who I spent 60 hours a week with. That was their experience as well. So it was very normal. And to your point of the fact that the biggest thing is having that awareness, most people will live their entire lives completely unconscious to the
Yeah.
fact that they don't realize how they think.
No.
They're completely unconscious to the fact that they're just reliving
Yeah.
trauma, they're living in the past, they're living as a victim, they're limiting by the way they speak. I could never do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
we have this beautiful, it's not really a quote, but it's an example that we tell our clients, and it's the only difference between someone who makes $50,000 a year and someone who makes $1 million a month. The only difference is the way they think.
Yeah.
It's really the only difference. It's not opportunity, it's not environment, it's not all the other things that people tell you it is. It's really the way that you think. And so if you're unconscious to the fact that you think a certain way, then it's especially difficult for adults when you involve the ego, which is what
Yeah.
blocks that consciousness. I worked with a lot of great people, and I would say to them, like, you don't have to work here the rest of your life. Like,
No.
you could start a business, you could buy some assets, you could get into real estate investing. Oh, I could never do that. And I'm like, do you hear the way you're speaking? Like, you
Yeah.
are limiting yourself with an absolute, and it becomes a fact.
Yeah.
And because of the way they speak and because of the way they think, they're unconscious to anything that could all be of the opposite, which means they're not even open to hearing it.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, you could talk for 3 hours about, "Well, I can show you this and this investment in this business and this and this and this. I can show you how to make 100 grand a month."
Yeah.
"Oh, I could never."
Yeah.
There's just I think it comes down to there are people who have gone through enough who are now open and open-minded to hearing, and then
Hmm.
there are people who are just happy to go, "Life is just hard and I accept it, and I'm just gonna continue grinding it out till the day I die."
Right. And there's an old saying, right? Like, if hard work paid off, then the donkey would own the farm, right?
100.
And I think that, but a lot of these people, like, these mindsets are not even, something happened to them along the way for them to think like that. And, be it passed down from generational thing, or be it something in their surroundings. And Tony Robbins once said something that really stuck with me too. He said, if you change one word in the question you ask yourself, you change the entire answer, and instead of saying, I can't, or like, why can't I do that? Say, how can I do that? And the answer is completely different. Why? Then let me ask myself, why can't I do that? Well, I have limiting beliefs. I have poor mindset, versus how could I do that? Well, I need to work on my mindset because that's number one. And then I need to, work on my network, right? And things like that. So it's completely different answers. And I think it's programming,
Mhm.
right? I think, mindset, and, correct me if you can, what may, but I think mindset is all about reprogramming the brain. And now, so, like, look, we all have imposter syndrome. We all have doubts. We all have that little voice in our head. I've been in business, 10 years now, and I still have my doubtful days and everything. But I mean, what would be your number one suggestion to anyone dealing with imposter syndrome or doubts, or, self, something conflicting with themselves?
Yeah, I would say that you should just start digging into what that is and what the source of that is, because what I have learned and what we teach our clients is that your self-image is paramount to your success, and you'll never exceed how you really truly see yourself. So
Yeah.
if you see yourself internally as just blue collar and I'm just going to make 80 grand a year, then everything in your life will absolutely show you and prove to you that you're right. But if you have a relentless belief inside of yourself that, like, I'm a multimillionaire, like, I
Yeah.
don't care what the check says, I don't care what the job says, I don't care what the title is, what my bank account says, I know I'm a multimillionaire in here and in here, then the world will change externally and it will change shape to reflect that is within. And
Yeah.
so if you don't believe in the self, the game is over.
Yeah.
So how do you build the belief in the self? Well, that starts with doing a lot of mindset work, and there's
Yeah.
no there's no band-aid answer for that. There's no, like, do this one thing and everything will be great. It's mindset is a lot of practices combined. It is a daily practice, and it is something that for a lot of people, it's funny, I'll meet them and they'll say, "Oh, no, no, like, my mindset's good." And I know immediately that you haven't done the mindset work, because anyone in this space recognizes that the mindset journey never ends. It never ends. There is no destination. It is a constant, everyday evolution of the self.
Mhm.
And if you recognize that,
Mhm.
that becomes a really, really fulfilling, exciting, like joyful experience because every day you can renew yourself and become better in all ways. I can
Yeah.
be better physically. I can be better emotionally. I can be better spiritually. I can be better mentally. I can be better in all ways of my life every single day. That's the growth mindset. And
Yeah.
so, in that pursuit, that
Yeah.
is the journey, right? And when you start to do that, you'll start to get into all different kinds. Tony Robbins, Joe Dispenza, Neville Goddard, Bob Proctor. You'll start to really dive into that network of information. And when you do get into that sort of that web of information, it will start to change you from the inside out. And that's when life on the outside ends up changing very, very quickly. Like we had a client, he was a police officer, and took our program and he retired in 4 months.
Amazing.
4 months. It blew my
Amazing.
mind.
Yeah.
And most people will say, well, that's not possible. How did he make so much money in 4 months? And the truth is, he didn't make any. That's the truth. But he was already there mentally in his mind in the future of his future self. So he already innately knew I'm a multimillionaire. I shouldn't be a cop. I have belief in myself. Now that I believe I'm done limiting myself in the way that I think, well, I don't need to live here and I don't need to accept this paycheck and I can go here and I can do anything. And within 1 year, like right now where he is, because I'm very close with him now, the guy's making 6 figures a month
Yeah.
consistently. And
Yeah.
people can't understand that if you don't believe it first, it'll never actually materialize in the facts. If you don't believe it's going to happen, you're right. But the opposite is also true. If you believe it, it will be true.
You're right.
Right? And
Yeah.
so there's a saying, your belief will create the fact. And
Mhm.
so he went forward in belief and created the fact, right?
Yeah.
It's just a beautiful example. And we see it all the time. It's that when you truly understand that the forces of the unseen, which are all around us, the forces of just the word belief, belief is
Yeah.
not a tangible thing like a cup, right? It's not something you can pick up. Belief
Yeah.
is an intangible. It's the unseen. There is so much that is moving in the unseen. It is your self image, it is your belief, it is how you think, how you feel. All of
Mhm.
those forces combined are so much more powerful than anything in the three-dimensional world.
Yeah.
But like you said, it comes down to programming. People perceive their world through their senses. So when they see their paycheck, they go, okay, well, this is the 3D, and the 3D world is telling me I'm only worth 100 grand a year.
Yeah.
Therefore, that's all I'm worth.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to quit my job and try to open a business because I'm only worth 100 grand a year.
Yeah.
And so that programming stops us because it really creates fear. And then we don't believe that the stuff that is really actually the most powerful forces on the unseen, actually, we can do anything. We just
Yeah.
believe the stuff that we're seeing in the physical world. And well, the physical world's telling me I can't do it. So I
Yeah.
guess I can't do it. Right. And
Yeah.
that's where 99% of people just end up staying their whole lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And they get stuck really in that spot, and that's like, and I think people underestimate what they could do in a year's time or in 6 months' time, right? Or whatever the timeline is. And I think that, one thing that I cannot stand is when I hear someone say like, "Oh, I'm too old to do that," or "Oh, I'm 40," or "I'm this," or, and I think that it's setting that limit to yourself, right? And, like some people like who say, I wish I had time to go to the gym, right? But all the people that I know that go to the gym make the time, whether it's
Yeah.
5 in the morning or PM after their 9 to 5, they
Mhm.
make the time and they get it done, right? Or when I hear someone say, I'm too old to do that. No, you're not. You're only as old as you feel and you're only as old as you let yourself be. I've seen people start, I recently got into jujitsu 18 months ago. And I thought, 3 years ago, I never would have thought I would have stuck to something 18 months and I'll be on the verge of getting my blue belt and, moving up the ranks and being consistent at it. But the same way that I started it at the age of 35, people started it at the age of 50 and achieved their black belts, right? So they didn't say, oh, I'm too old to start jujitsu because I'm 50 or I'm 49, and then stop them from achieving to getting that belt, let's just say, right? So I think that, I mean, like, I think that more people need to think like this and learn this, and because it really does all start with mindset. obviously what you're experiencing in your life is only going to be limited to your beliefs,
Very true.
and obviously the way, and like, even like, for example, sometimes the way we think affects the way obviously it affects the way we feel about us, but like, even like, for example, this is going to sound funny, but the days that I dress better, I feel better, I perform and produce better. And the days that I dress, like I cannot like, when I, even when, if I work from home, I'm putting on a pair of jeans, I'm putting on an outfit, I'm wearing my shoes inside because I need to get that feeling on, right? So I think that this is a huge thing. Like, for me, I learned, like, okay, even if I work from home, before I used to associate working from home with not being productive. Then I learned, okay, but even if I work from home, I could be productive. And it all starts with sticking to that routine as if I was going out there today, taking the shower at the same time, putting on the outfit, doing the emails, sticking to the routine. And I saw my productivity just now. If anything, I'm less productive when I'm out there because I see people and I'm talking, hey, how's it going? And I'm having conversations. And then, that leads to 2 or 3 hours throughout the day. But I think, like, for me, that's one thing that I've learned too, because mindset was a huge thing for me. Like, even I started my career 10 years ago as a real estate broker before I became a manager and investor. And even when I became an investor, like, there was a shift in my mindset and the way of thinking, because I had learned it from a certain lens, being a real estate broker, which was very, like, one dimensional. Whereas being a real estate investor, you have to think creatively outside the box, because OPM, right? Other people's money. I was like, what is this? Until I learned it. But then I saw the shift in my mindset, and I saw the shift in my business too, just from overcoming that. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about your program. Tell us
Yeah.
about that, and tell us, like, what's involved for anyone who wants to get involved with it, what they could expect, or, just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, well, we have multiple programs, anywhere from we have a weekly call that we offer people as sort of like dipping the toe in, where we cover all things mindset related, and it's just an open community weekly call, and we do that. It's $49 a month, and it's just very low barrier for entry where people can just come
Right.
in and start learning, and be part of a community. And so that's just like entry level. Our flagship program is called Transform,
Okay.
and that used to be a 6-month program, but is now an open ended lifetime community where you get a curriculum of videos and workbooks. Starts with a half an hour a day, and then we implement millionaire morning routines. And we really start to shift and change your mindset, your habits, and then your actions to change the results you get in life. And that program and that community comes with one on one access to my wife and I, where we support you. We have 2 calls every week, and then we get to support you one-on-one on calls in your journey through mindset, but also in real estate investing. We kind of throw that in as a bonus. So
Okay.
90% of our clients are investors or want to be investors. So mindset is huge, right? Most people are, if they've done single family or condos or fix and flipping, the only thing stopping them from getting into the multifamily, into commercial real estate, is their mindset, is that lack of belief that they can. And we
Yeah.
help them with that so that they can scale up and get into some larger assets with larger cash flow, which is actually where it's the most fun. Commercial real estate is where it's at. I absolutely love it. So that's what the program is. It's just a community of like-minded people changing that paradigm, changing that programming, changing their mindset, but it's really done systematically in a certain way. And that's something that we learned in our journeys from our coaches and our mentors, is that success is not doing certain things. And, a lot of people have vision boards, or they listen to podcasts, or they watch YouTube, or they'll go to a Joe Dispenza retreat. And those are all great, but it really is just doing certain things.
Yeah.
Right? And we do things a certain way. That's how success is built, right? And success is really a system that you can follow, similar to an Olympic athlete, right? The only difference
Yeah.
between an athlete who wins a gold medal running track versus the guy that runs around his high school track is he does it a certain way. His coach says,
Yeah.
breathe this way, run this way, wake up this way, visualize this way. You're going to do it this way. This is how you're eating the night before the race. Like, everything is dialed into a system that they follow for performance,
Yeah.
versus someone else. They're both running around a track as
Yeah.
fast as they can. One wins a medal and one accomplishes nothing.
Yeah.
And that's really all it is. So doing certain things gets you nowhere, but doing things a certain way is everything. And so That's what Transform is. It's a program that people can follow to change their entire life. And really, it's meant to help you scale in real estate so that once you change your mindset, now you can do anything. And we help people retire in under a year.
Amazing.
And that's everything, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing, man. And you're saying, like, before we were chatting, before this, episode, we were chatting, and you're saying how you got invited to speak at a conference in November. I mean, what's that like, speaking at conferences? I mean, because I could tell you that, like, a year ago was terrible at speaking, terrible at videos, terrible at content, and like a muscle, right? The more you exercise it, the more you grow and you see the results. So, like, how's that been like for you, speaking at conferences, on stages and stuff like that?
It's very humbling in the beginning. I've been very blessed. We started my very first stage last year was being invited to Key Spire, where we spoke
Yeah.
right before Shaquille O'Neal, and we filled the room, and an extremely terrifying experience when the first time you get up in front of a couple hundred people. But honestly, like it's like you said, it's a muscle. It's something that you evolve with and you get better at. And I've been visualizing myself on stages and touching so many people's lives from the stage. So it comes very naturally to me after 2 years. So I can speak on stage without nerves. I don't have to rehearse or practice anything. I don't need to have a speech prepared. I can get up with a microphone anywhere at any time and deliver for an hour or two. It's very easy. So but it's really just an amazing way to help give and pour into other people.
Right.
And the stages that we're doing are really just that. Like they're not meant to be there as a sales pitch. It's not meant for me to be on the stage to sell our program. We
Yeah.
really don't need to, and we attract the people who are searching for that in their lives. And so I get up on the stage and I just deliver as much value as I can, sharing my journey, my experiences, and all the things that I have learned, and pouring that back into the audience and helping them in real time so that I can help them change their mindset and hopefully change the trajectory that they're on. And if I can touch one person in that audience and it changes their life, which usually happens, and once I'm off stage, I'm in the crowd or I'm at the back, and people are like flocking to me after. As soon as
Yeah.
I get off the stage, I don't have to pitch anything. I don't have to put up a QR code. I'm just getting flooded with people. How
Yeah.
do I join your program? What is it? How much does it cost? How can I get in? How can I be near you? Like all the things. And it's just a testament that, like, when you are really truly giving to people, then there's nothing that you need to do or say. Everything comes to you because of your energy.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how I live my life. I am a product of what I coach people on. So yeah, we're speaking in Nashville at a big event. I'm part of Sub Two Pace Morby's group in the US. So I'll be speaking ahead of Pace. And a bunch of other really powerful speakers. I think it's being the event's sponsored by PadSplit, by the
Nice.
CEO, the founder of PadSplit. So he's going to be there, which is a really big stage, right? There'll probably be 1,000 people at that event. So for us
Right.
to be there to impact 1,000 lives it's really cool. And I've never been to Nashville, so I'm gonna get my cowboy hat ready and go see the town, and should be a lot of fun.
Good, man. I mean, I heard it's a great city, so I mean, I look forward to seeing that online when you guys are at that conference and everything, man. So, I mean, buddy, this is all the time we have for today. I mean, it's been an awesome episode. But before we go, anyone who's looking to work on their mindset, who's looking to learn from you, how could they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, easiest way is Instagram. I think that's where the most used platform in this
Yeah.
day and age is where everybody is. Being 41, I'm not on TikTok. I don't have the app. I don't even know how to use it. But yeah, Instagram at MattP_REI. That's how you can find me. Reach out, shoot me a DM, and let's chat. I'm happy to pour into anyone and give them my time, because this is what we do full time now, right? So on top of managing and buying assets across the US, we're closing on a $3 million property in Texas next month. We spend our days just helping other people, right? I think most of my calendar is just filled with giving my time away to help other people, and I really wouldn't have it any other way.
Amazing, man. Amazing. Well, once again, thank you. It's been awesome speaking with you, man. And for anyone who's listening, be sure to like, comment, follow, or subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Until the next time, guys, thanks for listening.